And hello, everybody, and welcome back to Check Rock. This is the podcast where we talk about basketball. If you don't already know, if you're new here, welcome. Hi, how are you? My name is Sean. Over there is Marquise, and all right, yep. And yeah, we're gonna talk about some basketball today, mainly the 76ers. But today isn't actually a special
Breaking
sort of a special
news!
episode. Yeah, because we're gonna be doing
Breaking news!
our upcoming season
Breaking news!
hot takes.
Breaking news!
Hot takes for the upcoming season.
Breaking news!
All right, that's gonna sound terrible in the audio. Just
I know.
So you know. But anyway, yes, hot takes for the upcoming season. But
Why don't
first,
you let me
we are
do my
going to
breaking news?
You just did it like 17 times.
Yeah, I just said it. I didn't get to say what it was breaking.
I was gonna say, but first, and then you were gonna go.
Oh.
I said, but first, and then you said, "Will you let me do my breaking
Now,
news?"
why are you being hostile? Now, why are you being hostile? Why are you being hostile to me? All I wanted to do was just say breaking news and then say the breaking news, and now you're just getting angry and hostile.
The breaking news. Say the news. Say the news.
The NBA is deciding to not renew their contract with TNT and Warner Brothers, and they instead are going to Amazon Prime, which means inside the NBA is most likely over.
Yep.
Which sucks.
Yep.
But for one more season, this is the last season, it will be on TNT, and then after that, it will switch to Amazon Prime and I believe NBC.
And the writing was kind of already on the wall. I think going back to maybe 2 years ago, even there was kind of just some rumblings about it. Charles Barkley, who is one of the hosts of Inside the NBA, made it very clear if the NBA loses, or I'm sorry, if TNT loses the rights to the NBA, he is essentially ending his broadcast career. And of course, at the end of the, I think it was the finals last season, he announced his retirement from broadcasting. So I guess it remains to be seen what's going to happen with the other guys, Kenny and Shaq and Ernie, Adam Lefko. I mean, a lot of the TNT crew are essentially going to have to find somewhere else to go. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities, but at the same time, it's kind of the end of an era. So pretty sad stuff. I think the one that I'm going to miss the most is Ernie. But obviously, Ernie's a legend. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if anything, he'll probably retire too. I mean, obviously, teams are going to be like willing to pay him whatever to come to whatever, whether it's ESPN or the new NBC or even Amazon, if they want to try to redo something over there. There's going to be people that want to pay him, but it's all really up to him. He's older. Yeah. He's been through a lot of health issues and stuff like that. So moving to another place, because like I know TNT, like their broadcast like station is in Atlanta. He's been in Atlanta for like the last how many years. He's been doing it the most out of everybody on that whole panel. So it's really up to him and what he want to do. Shaq, I'm pretty sure Shaq is going to continue somewhere. And Kenny's been like given coaching opportunities every year. It seems like he gets like an interview or just like teams are interested in bringing him in. So like, I think it will all work out for them. Obviously, I feel like everything would be okay with them, but like losing that is going to be a big part of what makes the NBA so fun, is hearing them just talk.
I think when it comes to broadcasting, Shaq is probably the one who's gonna continue on the longest. One thing that you mentioned that is actually pretty important is that TNT's headquarters is in Atlanta. Shaq is one of the few. Chuck, I think, has a home in Atlanta and here in Philly, or the suburbs of Philly.
I think he said he moved.
Okay.
I know he for sure has one in Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix, Atlanta, and I thought he had one here. I don't know if he still does or not, but he was here pretty often.
Yeah.
Kenny, I think, has a spot in New York. Shaq actually still, because obviously he played everywhere, and he has homes everywhere. So Shaq has, I believe he still has his house in California. He has one in Orlando, one in Atlanta. And I think one in Texas. and one in New Jersey. So Shaq has like the world is kind of his oyster when it comes to what he's going to decide to do if he does want to continue broadcasting. If he wants to go to ESPN, I believe ESPN is headquartered in
Connecticut.
New York. Oh, Connecticut. Okay, just outside of New York. Right, that's right. And I think I can't remember who's the other one. Fox. Fox is Fox New York?
I'm not sure.
Fox might be Fox.
Only know Connecticut is the ESPN thing because
yeah,
of it said like when I used to watch First Take, they went to like they're like Bristol, Connecticut or something like that, and only know like TNT because like they say they're in Georgia. So
well, yeah, and Turner Networks, that whole conglomerate is all in Atlanta. But I remember ESPN is like New York area because obviously Stephen A. Smith lives up there. So like he kind of commutes. So I knew it was like in the New York area, somewhere around there. So Connecticut makes sense. But yeah, so I think that's going to be interesting is seeing where they decide to go, what they decide to do. I think you're right. I think Ernie might be probably considering retirement. Do you think, now here's my question. Is Ernie, because I know he's already in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been a broadcaster to go into the actual Basketball Hall of Fame?
if there were to be anyone, it's Ernie. If
Do you think that's possible?
Even if it was not possible, they should make it possible because of what Ernie Johnson has meant to the NBA, to basketball, to just everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like people tune in. There's some people who tune in just to watch these guys talk about basketball. Like he's like probably one of the most respected people in like sport. Like he can do anything. And I just think that how respected he is, and from everyone, I feel like that warrants something. Like broadcasting is one thing, but like every day, he's been a part of the basketball for the last 30 plus years. So like somebody doing it that consistently, to be that well respected, deserves that, I would say.
He's one of the few media personalities, broadcasters, that the players have just like nothing but good things to say about, a huge amount of respect and admiration for. And that's honestly kind of rare, considering the fact that most players have sort of a love-hate relationship with the media in general. But, shout out to Ernie Johnson, the GOAT. So let's go ahead and move on. So we haven't had a pod in a little while. Since our last episode, free agency obviously has continued.
Yeah.
We signed Caleb Martin. I remember in our last episode we were kind of talking about
potentially
some of the things that we still needed, and I think we really only said like two or three names.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris, and Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
And
we got one of them.
Caleb Martin.
We got one.
We got Caleb Martin.
And crazy, Caleb Martin. Like I think I brought him up, and I was like, he's like a long shot because I thought like for sure he's going back to Miami.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
I thought for sure Caleb Martin was going to Miami. I thought it made no sense for him to leave Miami. And reportedly he left money on the table. I think Miami gave him like 4 years, $65 million, and he took less to come to Philly. I guess, a winning situation, quote unquote, even though we've never gotten to the second round, and with Miami he went to the NBA finals. But I think at a certain point players get tired of, being 7th seed, being 8th seed, having to fight to get into the play-in. I thought he really just got tired of it. And that's what it seems like. He got tired of it. But there's been other reportings of him and his agent not seeing eye to eye with like the Miami Heat front office, and how his agent didn't want him to be in Miami because of the offer or some type of like petty beef they had going on with each other. I don't know how much you quote of that, but
I heard petty beef and agent.
Yeah, so there was like a report that Caleb Martin's agent and the Miami Heat front office got to like a stalemate. And being petty was going to a rival and basically going like, we're going to sign here. And I guess it was like brought up as like this is a leverage play. Miami obviously offered 4 years. I think 65 was the number, and he ended up signing for 4 years, like 30 something, which is significantly less. 30 million on the table. And then there was another report that came out that said $65 million wasn't even offered because the Caleb Martin signed with the Sixers before the Miami Heat could even match the offer. So it seems like there might have been some situation where the agent was kind of being petty towards the Miami Heat, or something happened in that stalemate, or something was said, or something just wasn't right with him, and he kind of made that decision. Obviously, Caleb Martin had to have something, has some say of it, because he's actually the player and going to whatever team is where he's going to be playing. But it's a big win for the Sixers. It's a huge bargain for somebody, for a player of his kind. His kind sounds crazy, but a player of his play style and his effectiveness. He was a big part.
Age.
Yeah. He was a big part of when Miami went to that miracle run. He was a big part. Like, some people would say he was their best player in the NBA Finals against Denver. And adding him, like, I've watched a lot of highlights. Every guy, I'm a basketball sicko. Every time we get a guy, I just go watch their highlights. I dive into their last season highlights. And he's just a guy who makes winning plays. Just winning plays. Like how Kyle Lowry is. Imagine Kyle Lowry, Nick Batum, but imagine them younger. He's 28. I think either he's 28 now or he's about to be 28 during the season, and he just makes winning plays. Very streaky shooter, but he's not scared. Him and Kelly Oubre got the same, like, they're on the same, like, mind, like, set of fuck it, the next one gonna fall. And then on top of that, I didn't realize they even put this together, but him, when he did his introductory press conference, that him and Kelly played together in Charlotte, and I forgot completely about that. Him, Kelly, and his other brother Cody all played together in Charlotte. He, of course, played with Kyle Lowry in Miami. Kyle Lowry played a big part in getting him to Philly. He said, and I quote, something like, "If Kyle Lowry could play here and fit in, I can play here and fit in. Anywhere Kyle can play, I can play." So that was a big pickup. That's a huge pickup. Do I like him playing power forward? No. Not at all. I don't like a 6'5" power forward. But
well, I don't really think he's going to be a power forward. I think that was something that, obviously, until it comes from Nick Nurse, I don't really care to hear what anybody thinks the positions are going to be or what the matchups are going to be. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at the lineup that we're probably going to start, size-wise, the whole thing about it is just being switchable. Just like having guys that you can switch that can guard multiple positions. So I'm sure there are going to be times when he's going to end up on a 4. There are going to be times when, Paul George is going to end up on a 1. Like, it's not really – I don't really think it's as static as people are thinking it is.
Yeah.
But if he's, like, legit, like, playing the power forward role, traditional power forward role, that's bad. That's very bad.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be definitely a lot of 4 out, 1 in. But letting Joel do that. The thing with them, Kelly and Caleb, like I said, they're both streaky shooters. So if they're not going, defense are going to sag off. But what I like about that is when Kelly didn't have it going, Kelly would cut to the rim and Joel would pass him. He could do the same thing with Caleb. Both of them are athletic. Both of them are weirdly lob threats. And it just seems like a great move. So we signed Caleb, we signed Eric Gordon, we signed Andre Drummond, obviously Paul George, but yesterday we made a weird signing.
And we re-signed Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre.
Kyle Lowry, yes.
So that's basically the roster right now. And we signed I cannot remember his name on the summer league roster. We signed him to a 2-way contract.
We signed Jeff Dowtin.
Jeff Dowtin, yes.
Basketball sicko. I'm sorry, I know everyone's names. We got David Jones.
I knew him. I just forgot his name.
David Jones from Memphis. Jeff Dowtin, who played first last year, and Justin Edwards from Kentucky. our three two-way spots.
Two-way, yeah.
Yeah, our three two-way spots, because there's three now. We signed someone yesterday that, like, it's like a depth move, and Reggie Jackson is a 76er, and I I thought it was a weird signing because, like, we have a surplus of guards now. But apparently there was some growing things around the league of how much does Reggie Jackson have left, and also, which played a part in it, is Paul George. Paul George and Reggie Jackson played together on the Clippers. Seeing them, I mean, obviously Reggie Jackson is going to be a third string point guard. And if that's your third string, then I mean that's really good. I think he kind of replaces what Cam Payne was, kind of just that energy whenever you need it. Always stays hot. Once again, another guy who never seen a shot he didn't like. Playmaking has that. Ball handling has that. Definitely another ball handler, and especially, I mean, he might get more time than I guess I think, because Kyle Lowry is older. You might not want to play Kyle Lowry every game.
I think, like you said, it's a depth move, and I think part of the thinking behind it is understanding that Tyrese and Joel are going to need rest.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there are going to be stretches of games that Tyrese misses, even if he is healthy. They're still not. They're not going to let him. They're not going to let him play all 82. There were times last year when he was probably healthy, they still were like, just take the time and kind of take one more game to yourself or whatever, just to not overdo it. And I think when you have depth, you're able to do that, because if your bench unit is good enough to start and your rotation players are good enough to be a solid bench unit, you can get by without your all-star players, especially if you have three of them.
Yeah, for sure. But like the other reason I thought of was that they're going to do the same thing with Kyle. We seen that last year where they would rest Kyle, even though Kyle was fully, he's older. And you really want Kyle Lowry, a player like Kyle Lowry, for 16 games, not the 82. And Reggie Jackson can slide in, give you spacing, give you playmaking, give you a crazy ass play here and there. We've seen it last year where him and DeAndre Jordan turned back the clock. And I think DeAndre Jordan had like 20 and 20. Reggie Jackson had like 35, 5 and 7. So I think it's a great pickup, honestly, especially veteran minimum. You need to have more depth. Obviously, another thing we haven't been on to talk about is the KJ Martin deal. And a lot of people who are not, I guess, entwined with the Sixers was like, it's an overpay. But yes, it might be an overpay, and even I honestly don't think it was an overpay, because I feel like $7 to $8 million was what he was going to make anyway. Athletic wing who can defend, who is young. I think he's like 23. He was going to get around that money anyway. But for us, it makes sense because we had his bird rights, and if we want to now trade him down the line, $8 million is a pretty sizable contract that can get you back something. And also, with not trading anything, we never traded. Only trade we made was for Buddy Hield, and even then, we got picks back from that. We got a second round pick back from that. And I think that with not using none of your picks, you can now trade KJ in 2 firsts to go get a Dorian Finney-Smith, or go get Cody Martin from the Charlotte Hornets. Like, you can make these second. You basically have him on there as a contract. We have a contract. I've heard people even think that the whole Jared McCain pick was because he was he's one of the youngest players, one of the younger players, that the pickup was not even to play him. The pickup was to then add him to a trade to then get something. So, and then when you see, because obviously I was like opposed to that, because I like Jared McCain, and obviously he had a very up and down summer league, but he's a younger player. You can and then my biggest thing was, because I just had a fucking brain fart. My biggest thing was once they started signing all these guards, I started to think like this might actually be what they're trying to do. Is because like a lot of guard like basically Jared McCain, his play style is basically Eric Gordon. Like it's basically Eric Gordon, like a small two who's strong as hell and just can shoot. And if that's not the idea, him having Eric Gordon, who I think he's going to be him, like, you know, who other than him to learn from than fucking Eric Gordon himself, who like, you know, I feel like a lot of Sixers are like, how can I explain this? Like shooting threes wise, they're like at the line. They shoot threes at the line. Whereas though Eric Gordon doesn't. Jared McCain doesn't. Kyle Lowry for some weird fucking reason doesn't. Yeah. We have a lot of like legit spacers. So I think a lot of things with like Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris like to shoot at the 3-point line. And like it makes it easier for somebody to double team off of. But if you're like stepping back and you can shoot from there, it gives more spacing. It's dope to see that we actually have NBA players versus Furkan Korkmaz.
Furkan catching strays.
I'm sorry, Furkan.
I think you're right, and like you said, as time kind of goes by and you see how many guards we're signing, it is starting to look more and more like that. Especially since when you think about it in the sort of GM headspace of like keeping things liquid, keeping assets and contracts and players that you're able to move relatively quickly. If you did go with something or someone like a Dalton Knecht, because of his age, if he did not work out, you're just stuck on that contract for 4 years. And there's nothing you can do about it because nobody's going to trade for Dalton Knecht. So it does make more sense when you think about the like just trying to keep your options open and staying flexible going forward. And then also on top of that, I mean, if you do actually at some point plan on keeping or playing Jared McCain heavy minutes, you have more time with him to kind of develop him and mold him into the type of player that you really need him to be. If he ends up becoming more of like a catch and shoot type of player or a true like backup point guard or whatever the case may be, like you have that time with him now to really kind of set the foundation early, and get him just involved in true NBA action and get him learning on the fly, which it seems like that's something that he can really benefit from. Every step of the way he's started off slow and then just slowly but surely gotten better.
And in Summer League as well.
As things went along.
Same thing happened in Summer League. Started off not so good, but picked it up at the end.
Summer League, college, everything. Yeah.
So definitely having options is not, you know, it's definitely a great thing. For us, like last year, I was gonna like mention this. Like we had to rely on players that shouldn't have been relied on as much. Heavy. Like Nick Batum, there's no reason Nick Batum is playing 40 minutes. Kyle Lowry's playing 38 minutes. These guys should be 20 minutes, 15 minutes guys. And now with the moves that we made, Kyle Lowry does not have to play more than 15 minutes. You know, if Nick Batum was on his team, he wouldn't have to play more than 15 minutes because now we are stacked at every position, damn near, except for like the power forward, if you want to say that. And like we have other players to depend on. Like there was times, damn near the entire playoffs, with 6 games that we played, where Kelly Oubre was the third best player. You don't want to have to heavily rely on Kelly Oubre to constantly show up. And now that Kelly Oubre is kind of your 4th, 5th best player versus your 3rd best player, that's a huge difference. And then on top of that, you swap out $40 million of Tobias Harris and replace that with Paul George. Now you have a legit third option. And now these other guys are just helping out playing the role that they should be playing versus like having to do some superhuman shit. That we were basically asking Nick Batum, 35-year-old Nick Batum and 38-year-old Kyle Lowry are playing 40 minutes a game, which was stupid and was bound to, even though they made great plays, but you could see when they got gassed, it was like, I can't feel my legs.
Yeah, they did what veterans are supposed to do. They came in and they were stars in their role, but they weren't able to carry the load like a true star or all-star would be able to do in situations where your other actual all-stars are possibly in a bit of a slump or are just gassed. Um, so yeah, I think having that extra depth, I think having that versatility is going to be huge for us. So let's go ahead and transition into our hot takes because if I could be allowed to go first.
Hold up. The reason I want to do hot takes are easy to edit, and
Okay.
I can make YouTube shirts. So this is amazing. This is one of the reasons I was like I want to make more like short form content for us to just put places. So I was like hot takes. Fuck it. The season's kind of meh. We're in the meh part of free agency and the NBA, and obviously we got the USA basketball to talk about, but like meh. We're still in the meh part.
Well, actually, let me talk a little bit about that first. USA basketball.
Go ahead.
So I've been seeing a lot of criticism for Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
And this is on USA basketball. And I'm not even going to sit here and say it's not at all justified because I understand where people are coming from. You're saying probably to yourself like this is a guy who was an MVP last year. This is a guy who, year before last now. I keep forgetting last year was technically the season that just passed.
Who would have won it?
But yeah, he was an MVP, and he's NBA leading scorer and all these different things, All-Star, All-NBA, like all these different things, and he's looking so out of place. He looks gassed. He looks this. He looks that, and people are like constantly getting down on Joel Embiid and his performance. I don't think people realize this is the first. And I'm not even going to say the first. I think the people who don't understand what's happening probably have not been paying much attention to the All-Star games.
Or just don't like Joel Embiid.
Well,
if we're being frank, there's a lot of people who just don't like him.
Here's what I'll say. I think anybody who's watched the All-Star games that Joel Embiid has participated in, you can see very clearly that this type of cast of characters, this type of team is just not suited for him.
Yeah.
Like Joel Embiid, aside from USA basketball and the All-Star games, Joel Embiid has not played on a single team where he was focused on offense.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't played on a single team where he was not the guy on offense, where the ball was being thrown to him in the post and he was making plays.
And I will argue that
he's kind of trying to find his way around a bunch of other guys who do more or less the same thing as him.
But I will argue that not even the All-Star game, because in the All-Star game when shit got tough, it was Joel. They were giving the ball. The plays were for Joel. So it became Joel get the ball, everybody get the fuck out of the way. Whereas though I don't think a team with LeBron James and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry is going to be that same thing, especially because it means something. All-Star game don't mean shit. Like, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, half of the players don't even give a fuck. But when it comes to representing your country and, getting the gold and, lose at All-Star game, you playing with house money because if you lose the All-Stars. And in the USA and the Olympics, if you lose, it's going to look bad. It's going to look bad. You're USA. You're the best basketball, country in the world. Like this is where other players come play at the top of the top. If you lose or you get gold, you get silver, bronze, it looks bad. So I think that Steve Kerr's thing is that he has to, obviously give Joel some touches here and there. But like I've seen some things from Joel, especially. Everybody who should know, everybody who watched the Sixers over the last 10 years that Joel Embiid has played, knows that Joel starts slow. He always starts slow, and then he picks up. Yeah. He starts slow. He gets his legs under him. I'm pretty sure he wasn't playing basketball before he started training camp. And then this is basically him training. This is him training. So he's ramping up slowly, and you see it. Every game, Joel has got better. And
Great block in the last game against Germany.
Yeah. And what I like about this is that
the Mutombo.
Yeah, the Mutombo finger wag on the floor. On the floor after he blocked it. What I like about this situation for Joel, I think it's like 3 reasons I like it. The first one is that he gets to play, he gets to limit what he does and have to rely on other players. And with the team we have, he can now limit what he does and rely on other players. Paul George, Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre, Tyrese Maxey. He can now limit what he does, which reduces the chances of him getting injured. The other reason is that he's not getting the foul calls he gets in the NBA, which might teach him some shit. Whereas though there's a time and a place for it. When you're tired and you just want to throw up some shit just because you're tired, that shit ain't gonna work. He actually has to learn the rules. And the third reason is just playing with star power. It's just playing with star power. It's just really, it goes into my first one. It's like really reducing your role. Like, I don't want to see Joel Embiid average 30. I don't believe he needs to no more. Like, I honestly don't. I think 27, 26, cool. I don't need him averaging 36. I don't need him averaging 33. I need him averaging enough points where it's like, all right, I'm still getting my touches. I can still stay in rhythm for the playoffs. But I just need him to reduce his stuff. You know what I'm saying? I believe, Kelly averaged like 15 points last year. Tyrese Maxey averaged 26. I'm pretty sure Paul George is going to come in average like 23 to 24. I just need him to lower his points, to lower his usage rate. Obviously, him, even in this reduced role on Team USA, is super effective. Super effective. He's still getting double teamed. Like, his whole thing is there. I just want him to reduce his role to stay healthy. Because we don't give a fuck about 82 no more. We've been this is what, his year 10 of him playing? Or like year 9 of him playing?
This will be year 9.
Of him actually on the floor.
Oh, no, 8.
Year 8. And I think probably year 9. But
wait, no. No, or is it?
Whatever.
7, or is it 7?
No, I think it's probably 8. I think it's 8. It might be 8. But either way,
because his first year playing was 2016, 2017.
Yeah, so this is 24. So yeah, essentially, which is crazy that he's done this much in such a short period of time. And just really, just like, he's never gotten to the playoffs either. He never got to a healthy, or he got injured in playoffs because he was so tired.
Yep. I
just need him to learn. Paul George is also one of the guys you gotta make sure is healthy by playoffs. And I like, honestly, I've said this before. I'm gonna say this again. Tyrese Maxey has to lead the regular season. He has to lead the regular season. And if we can slide this into our hot takes, my hot take for the 76ers, this is just 76ers, I have other stuff, is that Tyrese Maxey will be the leading scorer for the 76ers this year. It won't be Joel Embiid. Okay. It won't be Paul George. It will be Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey also will be on an All-NBA team this year because of it.
I can see. Okay.
I just think he has constantly got better every year. Every year he's been in the NBA, he's gotten better. He went from somebody who we thought would be a great sixth man to turn into somebody who was okay. I thought was going to be an okay starter probably, to being an all-star. And then I just think this year is the year where, like, Tyrese Maxey finally gets the true attention. I feel like he's a rising star, but I think this year he shows that he is an emerging superstar.
Yeah. I think the thing that's going to be the biggest leap for him as far as, like, his notoriety as a player, I think he's going to increase his scoring, obviously, but I think having Paul George there, we're going to see a big jump in his assists. Mm-hmm. Because Paul George has been one of the most efficient catch-and-shoot players in the league for the past couple years. And I think that's going to be his primary role on this team, is a catch-and-shoot sort of floor spacer who can also get his own bucket when Joel or Tyrese are not in the game. But I think having him out there as a spacer, as a cutter, I think that's going to lead to way more assists for Tyrese. Mm-hmm. Out on the perimeter, and I think that's what's going to take him to the next level as not just one of the better young players in the league or one of the better scorers in the league, but one of the true, like, best point guards, period.
Yeah. I think if all goes well with Tyrese Maxey, obviously, please be healthy. God, we don't need another just bullshit season where somebody misses half the season. If everything goes well, I think Tyrese Maxey goes in to the season as a top 20, I think he's like top 25. And he ends the season top 15.
Okay.
That's what I want. That's why I think will happen. I'm gonna think will happen. I might. You go.
Okay. So this actually is a nice segue into my first hot take, which is Paul George will not make the All-Star team.
I mean,
I don't think Paul George is going to make the All-Star team. I mean, I think some people might consider that a hot take just because of the name Paul George. Paul George not being an All-Star is shocking to some people, especially since I do think he'll be healthy. I don't think Paul George is going to miss significant time, but even with that, I still don't think he makes the All-Star team simply because he's going to see a pretty significant reduction in his role. I think he's going to be mostly a catch and shoot sort of spot up shooter. I think the times when we're asking Paul George to go out and get a bucket are going to be minimal, especially in the regular season. In the playoffs, things change. The game kind of slows down, especially if you're into a longer series when teams kind of figure each other out. After a while, it's like you just got to put your best on the floor and go out and make it happen. But in the regular season, I think when you actually have the opportunity to go out and execute an offense, when you have the depth, when you have a team that's actually willing to go down the entire depth chart, right? In the playoffs, obviously the roster's shortened. You're not playing as many guys. Mm-hmm. But in the regular season, when you are able to spread those minutes out a lot more, I just don't think Paul George is going to be I don't think he's going to be dynamic enough to warrant giving him an all-star spot, especially now being in the Eastern Conference where you have so many amazing forwards, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Giannis, like all these different guys who are going to be competing for those starting roles. Now, if he makes it as an alternative for somebody being injured, that's one thing. I don't even really see that happening, but I don't think I don't think Paul George makes an all-star team.
I like that. I would like to throw a wrench in that. For the simple fact of what you said is most likely what's going to happen, essentially, in terms of what he's going to be asked to do in the regular season. But what if the Sixers are so good that you can't? You have no choice but to. It'd be disrespectful if he didn't.
I mean, so here's the problem, right? There's only been a few instances where teams have had more than two All-Stars in the same season. Usually when that happens, those teams are by far the number one seed, right? They're like, when we think about that 60-plus win Atlanta Hawks team that sent 4 players to the All-Star game. The Warriors, when they were breaking records, sent, I think, 4 players to the All-Star game. Miami sent 3 players to the All-Star game. But those teams are almost always like so good that they're like miles ahead of the rest of the competition. In most cases. I think Chicago did it one year. I don't see that for the Sixers because of just who our competition is. We're still competing with New York. I think people underestimate New York a little bit. I don't think people realize that, number one, yes, you lost Hartenstein and that was big, but you're getting back Julius Randle, who prior to injury was the second best, player on the team. So that's a huge addition on top of getting Mikal Bridges. So New York got better. Boston hasn't really gotten worse. They haven't gotten better either, but they still have their, core. They have Jrue Holiday and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Kristaps and Derek White. Like, they still have their guys. And Milwaukee, I think Milwaukee's kind of like a weird limbo kind of thing because they weren't a particularly great team last year, but they still have great players. So you can't really count them out either. And then Miami's getting Jimmy back. So I think we have too much competition in our conference for us to be so good that Paul George, as a primarily spot-up shooter, makes an all-star game.
All right. I respect that. My next hot tape, super hot. Super hot.
Like, how hot we talking? Is it like Kendall Jenner hot, or is it like Beyonce hot?
We going Neil Long back in the 90s.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
The Boston Celtics will suffer championship hangover and won't start the season as great as people expect them to, especially knowing that Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out until January.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
But hold up, there's more.
Oh.
They also will not repeat as champions.
Okay. 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 That is a hot take.
Mm-hmm.
So who beats them?
I think either New York or Philly.
Okay. Conference finals, second round.
I think it depends on who's hot.
Okay.
It depends on who's hot. Because I really
think
think
get Miami in the first round, they might not make it past the second round. They might just be too tired, too banged up.
Listen. I think they lose this year, but I think they win the next year. If it's weird, it's weird as fuck.
Okay.
I don't think
I can see that.
I think this is a gap year. Not like an actual gap year, but in the sense of they're going to win next year. I just think that championship that they went on, they played a lot of injured teams. And I feel like the Celtics have never really been a team to, like, how can I put this without being a dick? But like when adversity hit, they normally crumble, right? And they become their worst enemy. It's never really the other team, it's the Celtics. The Celtics beat the Celtics.
Yeah.
And I feel like they never really had a challenge the entire way to their championship. Not saying that they can't do it. And obviously, I'm picking them to win, not this year, but next year again, because I feel like they will learn from it. But when adversity hits their first time, they don't do good with it. Some internal bleeding starts happening.
Yeah.
So I just, that's the reason I think that they won't do it this year, because I feel like a lot of teams have done things to make sure that they're healthy by playoffs. Obviously, everything is still up in the air. But a lot of teams have made sure they have insurance on players even if something happens. Or, you know, a situation like Joel. Joel, you ain't got to play every game. We got Drummond and Bona ready when you got to take a game off. And it doesn't, like, seriously affect the team. I mean, obviously it does because it's Joel Embiid. But, like, in a sense that you have players ready to go.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams future-proof themselves. To where, like, when we get to the playoffs, we should be healthy. And now they're going to have to see at least two of these teams. There's a chance where they see us second round. Even if they beat us, they got to play Knicks. Like, it's like it doesn't seem like they're going to make it through all of it. And that's what I would say.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, I think I would have to agree. I think repeating is just as hard. Like, I don't think people realize how hard it is in general. And people look at the Celtics team and think, like, how can they lose this time? It's like, well, it's just one of those things. Like, it's just not an easy thing to do. There's only a handful of teams, honestly, only a handful of franchises that have repeated. Like, if it was that easy, most teams would do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I get that, and I think I would agree with that. That I don't think the Celtics repeat.
But their huge advantage. I'm sorry to cut you off, but their huge advantage is that they brought back everybody.
Yeah,
they have the most continuity in the NBA by the fact that they have locked down players for multiple years. Even the smaller guys, like their center, like Luke Cornett, signed for 2 years. Like these guys are on the team for multiple years. So that whole continuity should not be thrown under the door. Like that, knowing where a guy is off a cut, off of a screen, like that plays a big role, especially when you get to playoffs where every possession counts. But I just think that it's going to be so much teams ready for them.
Yeah.
Think about the teams in the East; they all got wings. Like they all just souped up on wings. All right, cool. You want to go, Jason Tatum? Hey, Kelly, go ahead. Paul George, go ahead. Caleb, go ahead. Like even like guys like Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon, who aren't great defenders no more, but they're smart defenders. They're like the Al Horfords, where it's like it does not make fucking sense how they make certain plays, but it's like they're no longer athletically gifted, even though Kyle Lowry was never really athletically gifted. But they no longer have that speed and that boost that they now have to adjust and go, all right, I can't do this no more. So how do I affect the game? And they still find ways to affect the game. So having Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, who are essentially, in a way, the same player, in the fact that they shoot threes. Obviously, Kyle Lowry is a better playmaker, but like they're built the same. They're just fucking fire hydrants at this point in their careers. And they're just smart. They're smart defenders.
Easy description.
They're fire hydrants. They are. They're fire hydrants. They're built like fire hydrants right now. But like the way they defend it is still smart because they're bigger for their position, like in terms of weight wise. Like Kyle Lowry is like 200 plus, Eric Gordon is like 200 plus, and they're both like 6'2", 6'3". They play bigger than what they are, and then on top of that, Eric Gordon. Like I just looked this up. Eric Gordon has a fucking 7-foot wingspan, and he's like 6'3". Like that.
They're like the guard versions of George Niang.
Yeah, and it's like they're still going to get beat. They're still going to get beat, obviously. But then you kind of fill out the team with Andre Drummonds.
Yeah,
you fill out the team with the Caleb Martins, the KJ Martins is now back. The Ricky Councils are going to give chances. So I think. All the wings that the Sixers have, obviously the defensive terrorist, like Alcatraz fucking wings that the New York Knicks have, they can throw out OG and Mikal, and it's like, what the fuck are we going to do with that?
Yeah.
So it's I feel like all the teams have built themselves to beat Boston, and or to compete with Boston. Obviously, this is all like assumptions and thoughts and opinions. But like the teams have built themselves to be like, all right, Boston, you want to? Jason Tatum can't afford to have a bad shooting night against us. We got Paul George now. He can't do that shit now. Knicks go, oh, we got Julius Randle back. You gonna have a bad shooting night? All right, you're fucking done. Like it's and then on top of that, their bench is better. Like only team that did not get better in terms of like the elite in the East is Milwaukee. They're the only team that didn't really get better. They added Gary Trent, DeLon Wright, and I forget what his name is. It's like the fact that I can list your moves, everything you did, on one hand, whereas though everybody else in your division, and not in your division, but in your conference, got significantly better. Yeah. And you didn't address. Obviously, DeLon Wright is a huge improvement. He's 6'5", defensive guy. But like honestly, other than him, you didn't improve anything in terms of your biggest weakness, which is defense. Yep. DeLon Wright is not going to play 40 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And Gary Trent, who they signed, is a good team. He's a good team defender. But if your team is already not great defensively, he does not help. Yeah. He does not help. And then on top of that, you lost Pat Bev. Pat Bev goes overseas. Who, for as much shit as Pat Bev talks and all the shit that comes with Pat Bev is still a great defender. He's still fucking finding ways to irritate players. I see Milwaukee. I don't see Milwaukee as a top 4 teams in the East. I have Cleveland over them. I have the Pacers over them. Milwaukee might be a 6 seed. Shit, Orlando might fucking find a way to be better than them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Like it's
that's a hot take.
Like that might be a hot take, but like I think Milwaukee is falling down. Obviously, you have Giannis and Dame, and people are like, oh well, another year of Giannis and Dame, and another year that Dame gets older.
And don't forget one-time championship winning coach Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers, yeah. Brook Lopez. This is the whole thing. Brook Lopez has shown signs of regressing. Chris Middleton has been injured and also has shown signs of regressing. Damian Lillard is about to be 34, and he already can't defend. He was average defender in his prime. He is like, it's like whoever got Dame, go at him. Yep. And Giannis obviously is still an elite defender, but it's only so much he can do everywhere
by himself.
Yeah, like at a certain point, like they literally have him as a roamer because like, fuck, bro, we just need you to be everywhere. Just help, just help. And Brook is obviously still a defensive player, but like at the same time, it's like he also can't stay on the floor. And it just seemed like if his shot isn't falling, his defense, you know, and on top of that, they're talking about potentially trading him, and it's like they fucked up choosing Chris Middleton over Drew Holiday. They fucked up, and somebody who Bucks fans like, I guess didn't value, or saw Damian Lillard's name and was like, all right, well, bye Drew. Like, you don't understand. Like Joel said it best. Milwaukee traded the championship away.
Yeah.
Like Drew Holiday's defense on Kyrie and Luka Doncic I mean, obviously among other things, fucking Boston was fucking stacked. But like that essentially was like the overkill. Like, fuck, bro, I gotta switch. All right, cool. Set a screen. I'm off of Derek White. Oh fuck, I got Drew Holiday. Like it just the mental games they can play that Boston could play.
Give me Derek back.
Give me Derek back.
Give me Derek back.
Give me Derek back. Shit. All right, I'm going. I'm going to the left side. Set a screen. Jaylen Brown. What the fuck? Like,
yep. So you mentioned Kyrie and Luka.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take me to my next hot take, since we're also talking about repeating and how hard it is. My next hot take is Dallas Mavericks don't make the conference finals.
Ooh.
Now, everybody's talking about the addition of Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is a great player.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you look at what the Mavericks' biggest issue was, Klay Thompson doesn't necessarily solve it anymore.
But
Klay Thompson,
are you going to talk about perimeter defense? Are you going to mention perimeter defense?
I'm talking about perimeter defense and scoring.
So this is my thing.
Because Klay Thompson's shot is not what it used to be.
All right, I'm gonna let you go on yours, and then I'm gonna give my rebuttal. I'm gonna let you go.
Klay Thompson's shot is not what it used to be. His defense is not what it used to be. I think the biggest issue was that the Mavericks were being completely manipulated on the defensive end because Luka is so bad. Now, whatever you do to put more defenders around him is fine. Like, that's cool. But at the end of the day, Kyrie's not a great defender either. So you still are going to have at least two defensive liabilities on the floor at the same time, always. And Klay Thompson isn't a good enough perimeter defender to make up for both of their lack in defense. And like I said, unless you're planning on going to like a zone or something like that, no other player is going to overcome the fact that if your opponent is giving their best player the ball, getting a whole bunch of switches and saying, hey, we just going to keep moving until I get Luka on me. Klay Thompson doesn't fix that issue.
Okay, my rebuttal is you replace Klay Thompson. You're essentially replacing Derrick Jones Jr. With Klay Thompson. Derrick Jones Jr. couldn't buy a fucking shot. Klay Thompson is going to be open in the corner. That's a significant upgrade. And then to your defensive thing, they signed Najee Marshall from the Pelicans, who was like the heart and soul of that Pelicans defense. They traded for Quentin Grimes, who was a great team defender with the Knicks, and he got injured, so he didn't really get to play with the Pistons when he got traded there. Dante Exum was a still of a find for them. Him coming back to the league, him playing 3-and-D. They just re-signed Spencer Dinwiddie. They have a lot of defensive players to go around them. A lot. Daniel Gafford's back. PJ Washington played great defense. Maxi Kleber was even injured. Derek Lively, who they have a team to where they could go back to the finals. Like if they were, obviously the West is stacked. The West is stacked. I would say that. But like if they went back to the finals, I wouldn't be surprised.
If they get the right matchups, they most certainly can. They most certainly can. They can. But all those players that you just mentioned have the same or similar issues as Derrick Jones Jr. They are good players. They are good defenders, really good defenders, but they're not nearly as effective or that effective on offense.
Well,
Now,
what I would say. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I want to pull out my
I was
stats.
gonna say as spot up shooters, they might be pretty good, but at the same time, it also depends on the opposing team's defensive strategy on Luka. Because if it's not about stopping Luka from scoring, you can still just go and play the other game, which is, okay, Luka's going to get off, but we're not going to let any of the other guys beat us.
So my answer to that, right, and it might sound crazy. This guy might sound crazy. I mentioned him, but Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie had his best years with the Dallas Mavericks when he got traded. When he I think he got traded there from Brooklyn, and they ended up getting traded back to Brooklyn, which is fucking hilarious. In that Kyrie deal, he had his best year with them, and he was the sixth man. He was in running for sixth man of the year that year when he was with there. Obviously, it's been a minute since he had that time. But Dallas, the way they play, he basically played like Luka. It's weird as fuck. It's weird as fuck because he obviously wasn't the scorer, the elite scorer, and I'm pretty sure his splits from that year wasn't that good. Oh, never mind. They were fucking good. they were really good. He averaged 17 points. 17 points was this. Damn, he didn't pass the ball like ever. Oh no, there you go. 5 assists, 3 rebounds, shooting 40% from 3 on 6 attempts. And shot 50% from the field. I feel like the way they used him benefited him. And I think having him back, and obviously he didn't play bad. He didn't really play bad until he got to the Lakers, but the Lakers were a shit show anyway. Having him back, I think, benefits them a lot, especially on a veteran minimum. And yeah. I just feel like they got a lot. They got a lot back for only losing Derrick Jones Jr. And they lost somebody else, but like the fact that I don't remember who else they lost because of how much they acquired in, I think they're going to be just fine. The problem is the Mavericks' biggest issue is the opposite of the Sixers. What has been the Sixers' biggest issue? The Sixers' biggest issue was, what do you do when Joel Embiid's not on the floor? Mm-hmm. The Mavericks' biggest issue was, defensively, what do you do when Luka is on the floor? That problem hasn't changed at all. He just has to be better. I don't. There's no other solution than that. No other solution to that than Luka just playing better. He has to. He has to play better. Like defensively, like there's a lot of just mental lapses he has that is just insane. Like some of the plays that he allows is insane. Like there's certain situations where like the guy beats him, he doesn't even try to move over. He just like lets him go. He plays a lot of matador defense. Like he needs to be better, especially somebody who's like 6'7", 230. Like there's no way in hell that you should be letting guys get past you as often as they do. For the Mavericks, I just don't like their team. I love what they did, and I think Quentin Grimes will get swept under the rug because he was traded. He was early. He was an earlier deal before free agency. I think it was before the draft even, and he gets swept under the rug. And he can really. Oh shoot, my camera went off. And he can really help them out a lot. There we go. He can really help them out a lot. Everybody they have is very smart. Yeah, it's a good roster. And there goes my camera again.
I can still see you. Oh, never mind. No, I can't.
Yeah, it's hot in my room. I turn off the AC. You can talk.
Oh, is that what it is? Your camera's overheating?
Yeah.
Here we go. My next hot take. I think Anthony Edwards will be an MVP candidate.
Is that much of a hot take though?
I mean, here's the problem. The main reason Ant wasn't an MVP candidate last year was because so much of the Timberwolves' success was team success. Like, yes, he did great, but at the same time, you could also attribute one of the big jumps, like in their record, was the acquisition of Rudy Gobert.
Right.
Having Cat there healthy, like they had a really, really good team, right? Along with a really good coach. I think now we're going to start to see Anthony ascend to the point where he's the head and shoulders best player on that team for the duration of the regular season. And I think some of the other guys who were MVP candidates are going to start to drop a little bit. I don't know if Jokic is going to be an MVP candidate this year. And that's a hot take as well. I think he'll be in the conversation. He'll always be in the conversation. But when it comes down to like when they start doing those like final 5, final 3, if it gets to final 3, I don't think Jokic is in it. I think it's Shea, Ant, and Luka.
Yeah.
I don't think Jokic is in it. I don't think Embiid's in it. I don't think LeBron, Steph. I don't think any of the guys who have been in it previously are in it. I think it's Shea was in it last year and Luka was too, but I think this year is going to be Shea and Luka. I don't even think, and I think they kind of suffer from some of the same issues of just having so much talent around them, Jalen and Jason in Boston.
I don't think they're ever going to win it. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to be in it either, just because they have each other and they have so much around them, and neither one of them is head and shoulders that much better than the other one.
You know what's crazy? You know what I think ruined Jason Tatum's chances of winning MVP is the fact that Jaylen Brown won Eastern Conference Finals MVP and the Finals MVP. And I think that ruined his chances.
Yeah.
Unless he comes out and averages like 37, which he doesn't. He's not going to do because of how that team is. I think so too. I think
for Jokic, the fact that he hasn't had nearly as much postseason success is going to catch up to him. Now, granted, yes, he won a championship, but every other year, Jokic has not been that great in the postseason. And that has usually been a topic of conversation between him and Embiid, is like Embiid always gets hurt and misses a bunch of games. Jokic in the postseason isn't quite the same Jokic that we see in the regular season. So I think now we're going to get to a point where I think people are going to be kind of tired of just hearing their names, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's going to be a little bit of voter fatigue. And I think on top of that, I think the added confidence that he's going to get from being on this USA team, possibly winning a gold medal, going into they just came off of a conference finals appearance. The first one in, I don't even remember how long.
2004.
20 years. Mm-hmm. On top of all of that, I think Anthony is going to have the confidence and the swagger about him to just say, you know what, I'm fucking going for it this year. And I think Anthony Edwards is going to be an MVP candidate, not just candidate like in the conversation. I think he's going to be a part of probably the final 3.
Did you see the thing was like Anthony Edwards is who John Morant thinks he is, or something like that?
I mean,
because their play styles and stuff like that.
Their play styles are similar, but I think Ant actually has. I would give him a slightly better mid-range game.
On top of that, he's better defensively, like just straight up.
Yeah, and he's better defensively.
Yeah,
and he's been healthier. Like,
he's not doing stupid shit.
Yeah,
I mean, he is doing some stupid shit, but like,
he's doing stuff. He's doing stupid shit that's not illegal.
Yeah, you know what I mean,
or a danger to anybody.
Other than those women's feelings. That's
which I mean, it's the NBA. Like, come on now. To find everybody if that's a problem now. But that's terrible. But yeah, I mean, I think between injuries and like his off the court shit, and it's crazy because, well, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. You go ahead, because I was about to go into my next hot take.
Go ahead, go into your next one, because I used my other one was going to be that the USA won't win gold.
Ooh, interesting.
This came from, and I feel like it sucks because if they don't win gold, everybody's gonna blame Joel. I don't like the way the media has been. In terms
I think
of
LeBron. I think it'll be LeBron they blame.
no, I think it's gonna be Joel. Because just like see what they're doing now. Anthony Davis should start. Bam should start, and just see what they're doing now. They're gonna make fun of Joel. Like he can't even win a gold medal. I just feel like it's just Joel is always going to be the brunt of the joke until like he wins a championship.
Now let me say this though. I do think AD should start.
I do.
I'm just
listen. I would love for Joel to play less minutes in games that I do not give a fuck about. I will love it. I will love it. Hey,
I think AD should start. Embiid should come off the bench. I think Embiid should be the primary scorer off the bench. Yeah.
So the reason I said that is that not because like every game except for the one game against Serbia was a close game. It's the way that they're playing is very much summer league-ish. Whereas though it's like in summer league, there's not a lot of ball movement because everybody's trying to prove something, and that's what it seems like. It seems like everybody's trying to prove something. Everybody's taking shots out of like, out of play. It doesn't seem right. The fact that they were in their last game, the game before last against South Sudan, where they were 43-point favorites, and they won by 1 point. It just seems like they're playing. I saw a tweet. It said they're playing.
They won by 1 point after a game winner by a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Continue.
It's so somebody. I think it was either was Doris Burke or somebody tweeted. It seems like the NBA players are playing NBA basketball, and everybody else is playing team basketball. Whereas like they're blowing leads, they don't know how to do shit. They're taking their foot off the gas. They're playing down to their competition. And another person was like, well, Kevin Durant's not there. I'm like, bro, you have like fucking all these MVPs and all these fucking top 5 MVP guys, defensive player of the year guys. It was like, bro, there should never be a team within 20. But like I like a lot of people are talking it up because it was their first time playing together and they had to get together late and some players were late to the blah blah blah. I feel like when it comes to a single game elimination, there's going to be a team that's going to fuck them up. And from what I've seen is that they don't guard threes for shit. They do not guard the 3-pointers for shit. I thought I seen like 3 fucking Stephen Currys on fucking who was it, Germany? No, it was who they played before that? They played before
South Sudan.
It was South Sudan. Where it was like, who the fuck are these people? And why the fuck don't they have NBA contracts? That's how they played.
It's like the Tommy Davidson meme when he was on the Breakfast Club. It was just, who are these niggas? Like, who are these guys? And honestly, Wenyen Gabriel looked like an all-star.
Bro, like, they're letting guys.
This is a guy who was on the Lakers like 3 years ago.
They're letting guys like just debut on the motherfuckers, bro. Like they really like, yo, I'm still trying to get to the NBA. Like they're playing down to their opponents, and that's why I think that they won't. They obviously I want them to because I want Joel to win. Like, and that's the only reason. Only reason I'm watching these fucking games. I've never watched the basketball Olympics ever, but like Joel's in it, so it's like, all right, well, I gotta make sure this motherfucker, stays healthy. I feel like when I'm not watching is when he fucking gets injured. That fucking that thing against the Knicks, but he did a self oop. I was at work. I wasn't watching. That shit happened when I wasn't watching. So every game I have to fucking watch because like if not,
I was watching that game. I was at my dad's house with him, and literally in the room, it's me and him, and he does the oop, and me and my dad collectively go, oh shit. Like, we were just like, oh shit. Like we both jumped up and screamed, and then we're both like, oh no.
Yeah.
Now, unlike you, I do typically watch the Olympics. I do watch USA basketball, and what I'll say is the same excuses that they give USA men's basketball, they give every single time, and they never actually do anything about it. And if you watch the Redeem Team documentary, they talked about it. Like, that was the first time that they actually talked about it openly, about how every Olympics the USA throws a team together, whereas all these other countries have national teams that have been playing together for decades.
Yeah.
Like when they lost to, I think it was Spain or Argentina, it was one of them. But like that team, yeah,
Manu's team.
yeah, they like that. It was Argentina, yeah. They're like, that team has been playing together for like a long ass time. They know each other. They've been playing. This is like an actual team. Whereas the men's team, it's like you got guys that are playing together that haven't spent more than like a few hours together in years. So you don't have any continuity when every 4 years you're putting out a completely different roster. And every 4 years, you're expecting all these guys to just all of a sudden drop all the habits and all the things that make them great players in the NBA to try and fit into a system with somebody else who probably does the same thing as them, but just maybe a little bit better or different. So it's like, I have to unlearn, if you're Joel, I have to unlearn how to be the focus of the offense and instead learn how to be primarily a rebounder or something like that. Because I'm on a team with LeBron and Steph, and they're scorers. So
right.
if I'm here, I got to use my height and not be the scorer and be something else.
And one of
so
the
it's like go ahead.
One of the things I've noticed is that Joel is very, like, a lot of players on the team are very passive. They're like trying to be nice to one another, and it's like
trying not to step on each other's toes.
Then and like Joel, like a lot of times he posts up and he's like, he's about to post up, but I'm going to his move, and he's like, but like I'll do it, but like if you want the ball, you can have the ball. You want dribble handoff? That's what you want. Like he like
Steph, are you open?
Steph,
are you usually open,
bro?
Steph, you want to shoot,
bro? I swear to God, in doubt, Steph is the default answer. He was the fucking default answer.
Steph and LeBron have been the, like, you know what?
Hey,
we're kind of late in the clock. Here you go,
bro.
Because I don't want to be the guy who misses.
I'm not going to lie. If this shit don't work out with the Warriors, Steph should see the fucking screens that Joel is setting and fucking be like, I want to go to Philly. Bro, I swear to God, every time Joel sets a screen, bro, this motherfucker is wide the fuck open, bro. Like, to the point where he can, like, set himself to shoot the shit. And that's, like, one of the biggest things. Obviously, if you talk about, like, dream duos, it'd be elite big and a great shooter. And, like, him and, like, you see it. It's like, dude, these screens that Joel's setting, one, he got to set these screens better, especially in the regular season, because like, he does a lot of slips where, like, he tries to fake a screen and then cut to the rim. Like, when he sets a screen and, like, he sets it to actually set that shit, bro, nobody's fucking getting past that shit. Like, it's like fucking Steven Adams when he does it. Like they're just such wide bodies that, like, even when you try to maneuver around it, it's hard. That's what she said. And I
fucking knew it. I was just sitting there waiting for it. I was like, he's gonna say something about that. I was not gonna say anything, but I was just like, I'm gonna wait for it because I know he's gonna say something.
But yeah, he sets great screens, and I want him to do it, you know, more often than trying to cheat and go for like a dunk or, you know, flash or something like that.
Yeah. All right. We were talking about Ja Morant earlier, and that maneuvers me into my next hot take, which is, I think Zach Edey wins Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, hey, this segues into my hot take.
I think Zach Edey wins Rookie of the Year. I think Zach Edey's going to get hella lobs. I think he's going to get hella blocks. I think he's just going to do exactly what Memphis needs him to do.
You said lobs? Well, he's going to get high catches. That's what he's going to get. Yeah. He's going to get high catches.
Yeah. Tip downs.
Yeah. Just...
I think he's just going to be exactly what Memphis needs him to be. I think that was like literally the most perfect pick they could have made.
Other than trying to trade for Donovan Clingan and that falling through.
Yeah, which, you know, that would have been cool too, but I think ready. Zach's just a little bit, he's just ready. Like, he's just the surefire thing for right now. I think Zach Edey is going to have an amazing year. I think he might fuck around and average a double-double. I think Zach Edey is, as of right now, because if you look at some of the best, obviously he didn't play a whole lot in Summer League, but if you look at the best Summer League performances, Reed Shepherd was amazing, but Reed Shepherd is going to be on a team with a bunch of other guys who are primarily perimeter scorers,
ball hugs,
right?
Jalen Green,
and they're also a young team that are also primarily not a defensive team, but they have a defensive coach. So I don't know if Reed Shepherd in the actual NBA season is going to have the same kind of performances that he did in Summer League. I don't think Jared McCain's going to get a whole lot of minutes. I don't think Ricky Council's going to get a whole lot of minutes. And then some of the other guys were just like Summer League guys. Like, you know, they're probably going to end up on G League teams or overseas or on somebody's bench, but they're not going to be real contributors in the season. I think Zach Edey is one of the only players that you can point to and say, you know what, he might actually come into just a starting role.
I'm gonna say this
when the season starts.
My hot takes, I had it written down here and I just like overlooked it. I said the rookie of the year will not be within the top 10 picks. And who I have as a rookie of the year, just because of opportunity, it might be a little weird to start off, but I feel like even like Alex Sarr, his fucking Summer League was terrible. Zachary Rich Crackers. Rich Crackers, yep. I said that. He had like an okay one. Reed Shepherd is the only person who played great, and as you said, he's going to be under so many players. I look at Matthias Buzelis. Yeah, and I go that might be a guy who might sneak up and win Rookie of the Year. I'm looking at Bub, who's play for the Wizards. Just like these guys who can score, that are going to teams that like need scoring. Obviously, the Bulls have a lot of other things that they have to figure out, especially with Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine and these other guys. But just a lot of guys who are going to get a lot of opportunities in the later part of the draft because a lot of teams traded to get, second picks. Even Keyshawn George could be a potential person where it's just like they're looking to score. And obviously, I feel like most of the time, like, scoring kind of wins Rookie of the Year. For the most part. And, obviously, like, just look at where they're going. Alex Sarr, obviously, Wizards, opportunity, cool. But I just don't see his game being great the first year. I think he's definitely not a project, but like somebody who's not going. You're not going to really see the real Alex Sarr to year 3, of like, oh, this is what he does. Because I feel like he's going to be the Wizards. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for him to fuck up and be okay. And I feel like his fucking shooting percentage is going to be under fucking 40. And he's just going to be able to do anything. And I feel like it's going to be disgusting, and nobody's going to want that. And it's crazy because the other two guys I think could be Rookie of the Year are also on the Wizards. But they're more like just bucket getters. Whereas I feel like Alex Sarr is kind of like trying to be that Wemby type guy where he could do all things. And I just don't think he's ready to do that just yet.
Yeah. The only how can I put this? The only wrench that I'll throw in that hot take of the Rookie of the Year not coming out of the top 10 is I think there is one player in the top 10 who has the potential to be a Rookie of the Year just because of the situation that he's in. Maybe not necessarily specifically like talent-wise, but Stephon Castle,
that's what exactly
I think
what you're going to say.
Is in a great situation right now. And I think a lot of the questions that people had about him coming in are not questions as much anymore because of the Chris Paul signing and the fact that he can be either on the ball or off the ball now and be a cutter and, somebody who just primarily drives to the basket, dumps it off to Wemby. Like, I think he'll thrive in his role, whatever role they decide to, use him in, which they're going to have to figure out, obviously, now that you have Chris Paul. But The issue with Stephon Castle, or what I can see becoming an issue, is just usage. I think Wemby, Sochan, Chris Paul, I think they're going to get the primary, most of the points. I think they're going to get most of the usage. And I think where Stephon Castle's biggest impact might really be is on the defensive end, at least for this first year. So I think that might be one of the only hindrances to him becoming Rookie of the Year, is that he might just not score enough to outshine some of these other guys.
Well, my wrench in your plans, we'll throw a wrench in my shit. My wrench in your plan is that he's not going to play that much.
Who?
And Stephon Castle.
Stephon Castle? Oh, yeah.
For the simple fact that you forgot to mention Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, who they just got.
Well, they're forwards, though. Stephon's going to be like a 1 or 2.
But, like, Devin Vassell played 2 guard last year.
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson played the wing, too. Like, there's a lot of guys who I can see. Pop is not a guy that's going to be like, he's not a guy that operates like other lottery teams. He's not a go out there, try your best, whatever. He's a, you're going to play this way, and if you don't fucking play this way, you're not going to play at all.
Yeah.
And
the only thing that I want to say though about that is, like, they played a lot of guard last year, but that was also because the Spurs didn't have guards.
Yeah. But like,
now they do.
I think that limits his chances of winning Rookie of the Year, is that the fact that obviously one of these guys can break out and can win the shit, or somebody's better than what we expected, obviously, hopefully for the best for him. But I just think that he's going to be his era, like his limit. What's the thing I'm trying to say? What's the word?
Range?
Not the range, but he has a short leash. He's going to have a very short leash.
Yeah.
Because there are other veterans at or around his position. Yeah. So he's not going to have really the time to do all this, stuff. They're probably going to tell him, like, hey, we want you to take threes. You're not a great 3-point shooter. He wasn't a great 3-point shooter at UConn. He hasn't ever been a great 3-point shooter. I think he shot like 8% at Summer League. They're probably going to tell him to take a lot of threes. But at the same time, you don't really get Chris Paul to he's going to teach you the game. And a lot of the stuff that Stephon Castle is going to do, he's going to mostly do it in practice. Like with Shea. Like, Shea didn't really get to show off his full array of moves until, Chris Paul left. Whereas, like, all right, well, Chris Paul was, like, kind of the captain. He was like, do it this way and we'll succeed. Whereas, though, after Chris Paul left, he was like, all right, well, Chris Paul's not here. Let me show my bag. And I feel like Chris Paul is going to help him a lot, definitely, 100% help him a lot. But I think that he's going to try to tell Stephon Castle to play how he plays versus trying to go out of the box and, like, try to do some crazy shit that he's not ready for just yet. Especially when like you do some stupid shit, he's going to take you out the game.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Am
I next?
Yeah.
All right. I only got 2 left.
I don't have none left. So
my last 2. The 76ers will make the conference finals.
Yes.
For the first time. Yes. 2001. I think the 76ers make the conference finals for the first time in 2001. I think if we're going against the Boston Celtics
in the second round,
in the conference finals.
Oh, I thought you were about to say if you go in the second round, that's great.
Because I was gonna say I think the Sixers make the finals. I think it all depends on who we face in the conference finals. Because if it's the Knicks, I think we can beat the Knicks. Obviously, I think we can beat the Pacers, the Bucks, the Heat, whoever else. If it's the Celtics, I think it's gonna be a long series.
For sure.
I can't.
8 games at least. 8 games at least.
I can't. It's gonna feel like that. It's gonna feel like that for sure. I can't make a prediction honestly on who wins that. At least not right now. I can't really think about it in its entirety right now until I at least see. Because I've seen Boston. We've seen Boston. I need to see what Paul George and Joel and Tyrese, like, I need to see what it looks like before I can really, like, say how far I think we can go. But with just the talent and the skill sets on paper, we can make it to the conference finals.
100%. And
I think we can make it to the conference, and I think I would even go as far as to say I think we end up as the second seed in the East, at second or third seed at worst.
I think, and I don't think there's much as a hot take, but if it's considered a hot take, the NBA championship runs through the East. The championship is going to be one of the top three. It's
Okay.
going to be either Boston, us, or New York. I don't know if it's a hot take. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. But I think the championship.
I think it is.
The championship runs through the Northeast.
All right, my last hot take, the biggest, the hottest of all of my takes.
Mm-hmm.
The 2025 NBA champions will be the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Fuck you!
I know.
No, honestly, it's not a bad pick.
The Thunder were a great team. Of all the great teams from last year, they got the most. Boston didn't really do too much. The Knicks didn't really do too much. They brought back OG. They brought in Mikal, but they also lost Hartenstein. But they'll be getting back Julius, but he was already there, so it's hard to say. The Sixers did a lot.
Are you going to say
a 7 seed?
Are you going to say the less is more theory with them? Like they only
With
got
OKC?
they only got Alex Caruso, they only got Hartenstein, but those guys are ready to go. Like it's not going to take long. They don't need plays set for call for them. They're ready.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think they didn't get a big name free agent like a Paul George or anything. They didn't get an all-star. But they got guys who are stars in their role.
Plug and plays.
Who do exactly what OKC needs them to do.
Yeah.
And when you had
that's what they needed
already
too.
A pretty complete team, literally just filling the 2 holes that you had with exactly what you needed, there's not really much that you can say as far as like a good offseason. They had almost a perfect offseason. And they were already one of the top teams in the West.
They were the top team on the West. I mean, by like percentage points.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, still, but number one is number one.
You're right. You're right. So I think obviously, like I said, Shea will be an MVP candidate. He was last year as well. I think we see a jump from why can I not remember his name? The guy who
Jalen Williams,
Rookie of the Year. No.
Chet.
Yes, Jalen Williams as well, but Chet specifically, I think takes a pretty big.
Much. They got so much, dude.
I think he takes a pretty big jump, and Caruso, Hartenstein, they come in and they just do exactly what they're supposed to do. Like, I can't really think of anything that is working against OKC besides the fact that they're just in a top-heavy conference, which honestly we are as well.
I mean, obviously, I think experience they lack. They, obviously, the only person that made it to the playoffs out of that team was Shea. From his 1 year, I think he went there once with OKC, with Chris Paul was there, and another year with the Clippers. And then I think Gordon Hayward was the other one who had playoffs experience, and that was probably like it on the team. I mean, Isaiah Joe, you can count, I guess. He didn't really play, but he was on the team. So I think experience is going to be, a thing for them. Obviously, they had a year together, making it.
I don't even think it'll be that big of a deal because, number one, now they have at least 1 year of experience. Number two,
I'm saying like
the other top teams in the West also don't have a ton of experience. Besides maybe Dallas. Dallas has the most experience, having now
and it showed,
Luka,
though.
Kyrie, and
that's the thing with me is that when they played against Dallas, that lack of experience showed.
True,
that's what I'm saying.
But now they've played against Dallas, and they've added 2 other really good defenders. One of them is a really, really good perimeter defender who is going to actually help you out against Dallas. Like, that was kind of like that was almost the exact reason why they went out and got him.
my last hot take. I just thought about it while we were talking. The New York Knicks are going to trade Julius Randle. And I don't know if this is exactly a hot take, but
I think it is.
I think there's too much going on there in terms of mouths to feed. And a lot of these guys are, corner guys, whatever. But Brunson, Mikal, OG, Dante, Deuce even. I think Julius Randle's game is very clunky. Whereas though, I feel like those guys' games are very fluid. I think he's kind of the, all right, now let me drive into the lane, do a spin, and I can't reverse pivot. Okay, pump fake. I feel like their game last year. I feel honestly, I'm gonna say this, and it might sound crazy, but I think they lose the series if they have Julius Randle. They lose the series against us if they had Julius Randle. And the only reason I say that is that he takes the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands, and Jalen Brunson was amazing. And I just think that him being there would have not limit that, but it would have taken away from that. And I think that he's going to end up getting traded. I just obviously there's a world where he's there, but I just don't see it all working. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be very ugly. And
I can see that, and there's definitely been talks about that. Julius Randle essentially being kind of just the odd man out.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Villanova Knicks. Nobody's really talking about the MIP, all-star Julius Randle, who's still on the team. I think what it's going to come down to is who starts. It's just lineups. I think the Knicks can still 1,000% use Julius Randle. I think what it's going to come down to is how many minutes do Julius and Jalen actually play together, and who starts and who comes off the bench. Because if you're starting Jalen Brunson, maybe Dante DiVincenzo,
and then Dante comes off the bench.
But if you're starting Brunson, DiVincenzo, Mikal, Randle, and Robinson, I think that starting lineup. Well, actually, no, maybe not even DiVincenzo. I think DiVincenzo.
I think it's going to be Mikal. I think it's going to be Jalen, Mikal, OG, Randle, Mitchell, and then Dante and Josh Hart come off the bench. Because
I don't know. I see what you see what you mean as far as why that would be the starting. See, that's the problem is the money thing.
You paid OG too much for him to come off the bench.
I think he has to though.
It's like the Al Horford thing. You pay you if that's the case, you're going to eventually that's what I'm saying. Trade Julius. You eliminate all that together, and then also you bring back assets to add to what you're doing.
The issue is if you trade Julius. How can I put this? I think the problem is when you start looking at it in the sense of all right, well, we paid him all this money, so we have to start OG. Okay, but now you're creating a problem that might not be there just because of the optics, just because of, we gave him all this money, so we have to. The only person saying that is you. If you're winning, nobody's going to care how much money OG's making.
But this is the thing.
So that's why it's
this is the thing, though. The reason OG wanted to leave Toronto was the fact that they weren't winning. And they weren't going to pay him. But when he left, when he was put in his trade request, and everybody knew that OG was eventually going to get traded, he said he wanted to go somewhere where he get money, and where his role was not reduced. Coming off the bench, his role is reduced.
But his role is reduced to what it was always going to be.
But this is the thing: he already had a little anger, little thing with the Knicks because the Knicks weren't trying to pay him the full max. So it's
they paid him.
But that's what I'm saying. So you're going to do that on top of that. At a certain point, it's just too much. Why don't you just trade the person who you were probably going to trade anyway?
I would wait. And I would at least give it until the trade deadline, for sure. before I even start considering really moving Randall, because I think it's just too much. I think the Knicks have so much talent that the idea of moving somebody just because you paid another guy and this other guy might not work in the lineup that you think should start isn't enough to justify moving that much talent, because at the end of the day you're not getting that much for Julius Randle.
This current iteration of the New York Knicks, obviously we have not seen him play yet, so I could be completely wrong. It reminds me of that Boston Celtics team that had like Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, all these players where it's like, oh, this team should be it. Obviously they got injured, but even when they played together, it was like, yeah, bro, it's too much shit happening. It's just like too many guys just like needing the ball, and like Julius Randle's not a corner guy. Mikal Bridges is. OG can be, and it's just like they flow more into it. Whereas like Julius Randle is out of place. It's like that the fucking meme with polar bear in the fucking on the beach. It's like, why the fuck is he here? You know what I'm saying? And it might just be a situation where they have to, because like you're not going to put him at center.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you know, it just would be terrible against who you have to go against. Like they're going to put, if Boston plays them, they're going to put Julius Randle on every pick and roll. Joel's going to eat.
No, well, but see, that's the thing. It depends on who your matchups are and who you're playing. Because I think, here's what I'll say. I think you're right. I think obviously the issue is when you start, for instance, with the Boston example, right? The problem is Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, basically the same role. They're all scorers. Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart, like secondary ball handler type 3-point shooting guys, like, you know, pretty good on defense. At the time, Marcus Smart was pretty good on defense. He eventually got much better. But like you had a bunch of guys that played the similar or the same roles, and were wanting the same things. Julius Randle is a mid-range scorer. Jalen Brunson is a primarily deep mid-range to 3-point scorer, who can also score at the rim sometimes. Mikal Bridges is primarily a 3-point scorer. Dante DiVincenzo, primarily a 3-point scorer or a cutter to the rim. Josh Hart, same thing. And then Mitchell Robinson gets putbacks and lobs. I don't think their roles are so close together that they can't play together. And on top of that, I don't think that personality-wise or even just game-wise, you're going to have the huge issue of like guys stepping on each other's toes, because for real, they only have 2 scorers still. It's Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Everybody else can and has been playing off the ball. Mm. So I don't think it's going to be nearly as big of a deal as something like what we saw in Boston, where you have 3 guys that are actually used to having the ball in their hands or used to the offense running through them. So I think it can work. I think the margin for error is much wider with New York than it has been with teams like Boston or other teams.
I just think that when you pay a guy a lot of money, either you're going to change your team to fit that guy in, or you're going to get that guy out. There's not been a situation where a guy has got paid a lot of money, been told to come off the bench, and was with the team the next year. It just doesn't go together. Like, it just doesn't.
I mean,
Klay Thompson got paid a lot of money, got told to come off the bench, gone. Al Horford got paid a lot of money, told to come off the bench, gone. It just doesn't work that way. It just seems when a player.
It doesn't, but it doesn't because the teams haven't let it.
But this is the whole thing. Why did I do that? Why did I pay? This man is going to get paid like $40 million a year, OG Anunoby. $40 million.
Because you want OG Anunoby still.
But to come off your bench, though.
I mean,
and he's on top of that. His skill set is not 6 man.
But think about it like this: if it was about paying the guy who was the better player more money, why wouldn't Jalen Brunson have the money?
But this is the thing, though. Jalen Brunson took less to keep his guys together, because he could have gotten the max. But this is the thing.
Right.
So if it's skill set base, why isn't Julius Randle should come off the bench?
He probably could, but I'm not saying Julius Randle can't come off the bench. I'm saying don't trade him.
But I'm saying either way, somebody's going to have a reduced role.
Sure.
And
if you're winning, my thing is, if you're winning in the NBA, 9 times out of 10, winning has trumped all. Mm-hmm. That has been the precedent always. If you're winning and you're getting paid, what do you have to complain about? Because if it was always about the role, why the fuck would you stay with the Knicks? Why would you go somewhere where you could be the guy? Why would you go to Charlotte or some shit like that? Like, if it was about you being the man,
I mean, well, technically,
why would you go to the Knicks anyway?
That's how it's all started. Because the Knicks were a fucking dumpster fire. And Julius Randle was like, fuck it, you're going to pay me? That's how this shit all started.
No, I'm talking about OG.
Oh. But there's the thing, though. We're seeing guys who would normally get a lot of money taking veteran minimums because the shit's dried up. So going somewhere else was not really. OG couldn't go nowhere else.
Okay, so that comes back to my point. You couldn't get this money anywhere else, mm-hmm. right? And on top of that, in addition to you getting the money, we're also winning. So is it really that big of a deal if you got to come off the bench?
I mean, obviously, I don't. That's the whole thing. I don't know. It just seems like you're paying a guy a lot of money to do.
But that's not OG's problem. That's not OG's problem. That's a Knicks future down the line flexibility problem. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about winning right now. If starting Julius Randle results in wins, I'm not saying it will, but if it does, I'm not fucking that up and trading him just because I'm paying OG more.
I'm just saying. My biggest thing is that they have very good problems. This is a good problem to have.
Even though, like I said, you're probably not getting much for Julius Randle in this market.
You're not. No, he's not a star that it can fit everywhere. He's not a guy that can thrive everywhere, anywhere he went. Yeah. He's a star with superstar tendencies, and not the superstar tendencies that you want. The superstar tendencies that are terrible, where like he feel like he could take all right, I'm gonna take a little day off of defense, and it's whatever. It's like you don't want that, especially for somebody who, like I said, can't fit everywhere. He can't. Like, his style of play does not fit everywhere. That's what my big thing with him and the Knicks is, that it's like everybody seems like, whether, obviously the Nova Knicks, but also OG, where it's like everybody's plug and play, whereas though he's like a system player. He's the, I don't want to say this because it sounds terrible. He's the Tobias. He is like very much rhythm. Like, let me get my shots. Let me get a touch here. Let me get a touch here. Let me get a touch here. Where it might fuck up the offense, slow down the pace. Where it's like, all right, if you do this shit and you still miss, it's like, bro, what the fuck? We're not doing that shit again. Where I can see him getting like, all right, well, I'm just not touching the ball. And he's very much a person where if his shot isn't not Tobiasy, he's very Tobiasy. Where if he's not getting touches, he's kind of like the term feed the big man, and the big man's gonna do everything. Like if you catch a big man on a lob or stuff like that, he's gonna defend harder. He's gonna do stuff like that because he knows he's getting take care of on the other side of the side of the floor. He's very much like that. Whereas like if he's not locked in offensively, he's not gonna give a fuck about defense. Like that, and then on top of that, when you have, obviously this might play a role in that. If you have OG, where it's like, all right, you're not doing it, get the fuck off the floor. I can see that being. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I can see that being a problem. Where it's like he's very much like, how can I explain this? I think he thinks he's a better player than what he is.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have options to now be like, all right, bro, you can't, fuck this. It's like essentially if Joel was doing some shit. Like we know Joel take plays off. We know he has take plays off. Essentially, if Dick Nurse had Anthony Davis on the bench, like how USA is. Oh, you're not playing defense? Anthony Davis coming. Yeah. Sooner or later, Joel's going to be like, what the fuck? Either there's when two things are going to happen. Joel's going to pick up his defense, or Joel's going to get fucking mad. Only one of two things. And what Julius Randle has shown you, and with his comments and his whole thing, he went to fucking war with New York not too long ago, where he was like fucking like telling everybody fuck you, like, you know what I mean, in New York, like at home, like, you know what I mean. He had this situation where like his personality is very much he's going to start to get disgruntled. That's why I was like trade him. That's why I'm in the thing of trading him, because it's like everybody else flow together. If you have this other guy who's just like, all right, guys, now's my turn. It's like everybody's like in the corner, you know, ready to swing, and you're like, I'm a pump and I'm a drive and I'm gonna do all this shit. It's Tobias, you're wide open in the corner. Why the fuck are you driving? Like, I just see a lot of that, and that's my biggest thing with him potentially being traded is the fit.
I think you're right. I think if the fit isn't there, then yes, by all means, trade him.
He's the guy. Like, you don't you're not trading anybody else. He's the guy that you would trade.
Yeah, you have to trade him. Yeah. I think Julius, he's coming into an interesting situation because you just watched your team succeed without you.
Yeah.
So how does that affect your attitude? You can't come into the season with the same attitude of like, you guys fucking need me, so fuck you. Mm-hmm. Because we don't now. So I think that's going to be the biggest factor of how does Julius approach this season coming into this team. I think, does he think he has to fit in, or does he think him being back means they all have to adjust? Yeah. That's going to be the biggest thing for Julius Randle is how are you looking at this upcoming season? How are you looking at this team and this roster, and how you being here affects us? If you're looking at it as like, hey, I'm back now, we can go back to playing the way I like to play. That's the thing that's going to get you traded. Which, to be fair, he might want. Like, no, he hasn't. I don't know if there have been like a whole lot of interviews and talks about it, but he hasn't been super vocal about being like excited to be back or anything like that, or even on his way back. Like, it might be something that he wants. He might want to be traded.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, other than that 1 year when he won MIP and he shot like 40% from three, his next year's 2020 is when he won MVP, MIP. Then next year's 30%, 34%, 31%. Where you have a lot of guys like OG who shoots 38%, Mikal shoots 40%. It's like, dude, he can't even stand in the corner if he wanted him to. Like, nobody's going to truly respect that. And I think that also plays a part into it's like how, like, all right, fuck, we can't even put you in this role. So now you kind of have to have the ball in your hand, and it's like you'd rather have the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands. I don't know. I just don't see it. Obviously, you know, I'm looking at it from a fit perspective and a like, you know, play style perspective, and I just don't see it. But I mean, if it does, it does. You know. And like,
the only way where it can work without them having to make a whole bunch of changes, or without Julius having to go through a complete metamorphosis, a complete mental, you know, change, is if him and Jalen are mostly splitting minutes. Yeah. Because you can't, if he's gonna play the way he used to play, you can't have them on the floor together.
Yeah. It has to be.
You got to just surround Julius with defend 3-and-D guys. Like, you can't. You might be able to play OG and Julius together.
No, definitely.
But you can't play OG, Julius, and Jalen.
OG is one of those players that can play. Like, OG, Mikal, Dante, Josh Hart are the players that can play with anybody. It's just that when there's like, I'm in the corner, he's in the corner, and it's like Jalen Brunson has the ball. It's like, all right, Julius, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like, that's the whole thing. And but yeah, though, that is my concern. And we went on for like 20 minutes just about Julius Randle. So
I know, but it's a legitimate. I mean, listen, if you're a basketball podcast and you're talking about one of the top teams in the NBA, you're probably gonna talk for quite a while. So
yeah.
that's not surprising. I think the Knicks, honestly, of all the top teams, the Knicks are the biggest question mark. Only because sometimes you wonder if they were even as good as they were last year because of the injuries. Because of how much time Joel missed, how much time Tyrese missed, Jimmy not playing, like all these other issues and things going on. Yeah, like how good are they really?
And it seems like every team in the East, like every team, like honestly, like even the Pistons improved. Like
yeah,
like everybody has taken a step up. So I mean, obviously, you know, in the first couple weeks of the season, everybody looks like a contender, and then before you know it, the cream of the crop rises, and then the rest, starts to separate. But yeah, I can definitely see them getting off to a bad start, and them going like, what the fuck? All right, how do we change it? And Thibs is, he just got a contract extension today, so congratulations to him. Thibs has never been an offensive coach.
Right.
It's always been like his assistants that come up with the shit, Obviously, he's not terrible at it, but it's just not his forte. He's more like defense. This is how you're going to do this, the toughness and the sets and the zones and all that stuff. That's really his cup of tea. Him, like, really finding a way to fit everybody in. It's not like a Sixers situation where, like, the top three guys are boom, boom, boom. Like, these are the guys everybody else fit in. Whereas, like, and they all their play styles fit together. You have a point guard, a wing, and a center. Versus you have a point guard and a power forward who thinks he's a point guard sometimes when he's a center, and then doesn't rebound, and then he wants to rebound, but only rebounds when you want the rebound, and so you can take your rebound. Like, he does a lot of shit that's annoying. Like, his play style is not fun. Yeah, watching him is not fun. It's not fun, bro. It's like watching Tobias Harris if he was good. Like, it's like fucking annoying because, like, fuck, he has to play now. He has to play more. Like, that's great. But we've been going on. It's been almost 2 hours. We both have to work tomorrow. So,
me earlier than him.
Yeah, me. But after work, it's movie time. It's movie time.
Yep. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. I always say, ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. It's a sausage fest in here.
No, it's not. We got one woman watching us. My mom.
All right.
Hi, Mom.
Okay. Hi, Marquise's mom. So thank you again for joining us for another week. Hopefully we will see you again next week. Ain't shit going on really in the league, but still.
Sean, I gotta tell you this.
What?
Next week, we do our way too early.
Yes, the predictions.
Yeah, way too early. Yeah, I guess so. I guess to draw it out, we should do next week way too early awards. The week after that, we bring back draft.
Yep.
We bring back the draft.
Yep, I know.
Sean once picked Christian Wood as a potential All-Star, and now he's potentially out the league. So boom, roasted.
Boom, roasted. All right. Well, we're not gonna talk about that. Anyway, thank you again for joining us for another week. Make sure to tune in next week. Go back and listen to some of the old pods if you haven't. Just if you want to laugh at some of the dumb shit that we said, some of the dumb predictions, such as the Christian Wood one, which, like I said, we're not going to get to.
Whole nother company.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you for joining us for another week. Make sure to follow us on the socials. Make sure to hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe, and if you are listening to this on one of the major DSPs, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, add us to your favorites. Subscribe. Make sure you catch us every time we drop another episode, and follow us on the socials. You should see our social media attachment or links. I was going to say attachments.
They're on the screen.
Anyway, yeah, you should see them on the screen. Make sure to go ahead and follow us. Marquise, do you have anything else to say?
Look both ways before you cross the street.
That's great advice. That's a great way to end it. That's a great way to end it. Goodbye, everybody. Don't get hit by cars.